race Pro Street, and I run NHRDA and ODSS.
Okay.
Dustin's been great for us. I mean, when we got this truck, we were really excited. I mean, it used to belong to a friend of mine, and when we got it, I mean, it was already a good running truck and had a little different setup in it, but we had to lose some weight to get to that class minimum. And time slips in the whole season. He's getting faster and faster, and it's like we're not turning the truck up. It's just he's getting more consistent in the setup, and the thing just moves. And I really like the style that Dustin and Mindy use on their racing program. I mean, they're calculated and religious on, we're not changing this, we're gonna one thing at a time, and they get good data. He's got all his time slips and learns as he goes out, and he's a good ambassador for us.
Not only that, I work a bunch, so I mean, she'll drive the truck. I mean, she drove up here by herself 18, 19 hours by herself, and I had to fly in. So not only that, I mean, she's just good to it all around.
Couldn't ask for anything better to go out in 2 different sanctioning bodies and win them both and set a world record. I think that's pretty much winning it all. From what that motor started as a 180 horsepower, well, even lower than that tractor engine, to what it is now, not a whole bunch has changed. I mean, we have a factory crankshaft in there that's handling this 17 to 2,500 horse, so they can go as high as 3,000 with factory crankshafts. But to make this 6.7 liter engine live, we have to sleeve it. We've taken 6-7 blocks and tried to make them work, and even by spinning them at higher RPM and taking some torque out of them, they still fail. So we run a ductile iron sleeve in that motor, and then that ductile iron sleeve gets us a lot more strength in the cylinder, and then sometimes we even put a deck plate on it of a 1-inch deck plate. Gets you a better rod ratio, and also you've got all that cylinder pressure is made in that top inch. But this is not a deck plate motor, it's just a sleeved 6.7, which you lose a little displacement, but it really doesn't matter because we can force all the boost and fuel that we need into it. We just can't get enough air density in there for the amount of fuel that we're delivering into the cylinder. Obviously the fuel's not in the cylinder until we inject it, so it's not going to knock. You can run as much boost as you want. The vaporization of gasoline, it cools off. Diesel fuel, not as much, but like on these setups, it goes back to that injection versus crank angle degrees, that relationship of if you put too much fuel in it, most of the time people are putting too much fuel in it because they're stretching out the injection duration. You can do a little bit of porting, but the push rod location doesn't allow you to do much because you have to keep that sealed off. Anytime you start moving valves around, the most critical feature on a diesel is the injector spray pattern and the piston bowl. The piston bowl to spray pattern angle, you can really get lost in a hurry in terms of you've got a good proven setup and you start changing things, and you can take a motor that may make 1,500 horsepower and it'll be 500 horsepower down. I mean, we have a factory crankshaft in there that's handling this 17 to 2,500 horse, so they can go as high as 3,000 with factory crankshafts. It's a common rail injection system. It's a factory CM849 Cummins ECU. That is the kind of the pinnacle. The next series up, the CM2100 that would actually come on a 6.7, is a fine ECU as well, and there's we've finally got it to where it'll run RPM. That's one of the biggest hurdles, is getting an ECM that wasn't designed to spin 6,000 RPMs to knock all the stuff out of the way to allow it to do that. Tuned with EFI Live, they've got some custom operating stuff, or custom operating systems in it that they offer that allow for fast logging, which the Cummins controller doesn't feed back their data very fast. So they've got a high-speed logging, and then also they've got like a race input, so an input to the ECM that'll allow you to set up a separate map so that when you want to use a staging limiter or some kind of through bracket racing, you can hit this and then the power will drop off. So.
The parts and making sure everything lasts and it can make rounds. That was a big deal with me. I had the idea of I want to put a 400 in it, and I had several people that said, it won't work, but come to find out it does. I mean, it's all custom. I mean, you have to have custom bell housing, converters, and all that stuff. So I got on the phone with Carl Rossler at Rossler Transmissions. I didn't want to just put something in there that I was going to have hell with, and I knew what other people were having problems with. So I wanted to take the approach and say, hey, I'm doing this, because in reality, I wanted it to be fun, and I don't want to have to be putting $10,000 in it every race.
The trucks have come so far recently because of a lot of the transmission technology, and this truck actually can make more than that 1,700 horsepower, but it's like Dustin's very conservative with how he drives it, and it's like he's going to sneak up at everything that they change is calculated.
Yeah, it's, once I hit trans brake, it goes basically it goes to CPS 6.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it goes to a different. It sets whatever RPM I want it to leave at is what it leaves at, like we set it. And so once it sees trans brake, it goes, oh, only going to go to that RPM, and it's going to hold that RPM. But as soon as I release trans brake, it goes to full fuel.
So it's kind of a staging. It's two strategies happening at the same time. You're modifying the transmission stall, but there's ways in tuning that you can play around to make heat, artificial heat. It's a compromise though. So in diesel injection, for peak power, we try to end our injection event at 10 to 15 degrees after. I mean, you look at all the SAE white papers and all the stuff, the cylinder pressure monitoring, that's where peak power is made in relation to crank angle. When you put that fuel in, you can put it in at any time in the whole cycle. We can put it in really late, a post-injection pulse, and kind of waste some fuel. It's not a very good combustion, and sometimes it washes down the cylinders, but you can run that post-injection and then create, you can just watch the EGTs climb on the line because of that. And, heat will spin the turbo up faster. But, that works, but the transmission method works so much better.